I feel a little bit faint. Get it?
I just said, yes, man, right away, anything.
So you may be wondering, what are feints? It's all the stuff that's left over when you're finished making your blend. So you've made your distilling run, then you blend all the jars that you want to keep from the hearts and maybe a little pinch from the heads and a little pinch from the tails for flavor. But then you have a whole bunch of stuff left over from the heads and tails that you just can't use. It's gonna probably have a bunch of crappy flavors and fusel alcohols and methanol and stuff that you just don't want in large quantities in your final blend. If you distill 3 or 4 times, you can end up with a lot of that. I mean, a lot. You have a couple of different options of what you can do with your feints. One, don't throw them away. They're not garbage. They're not useless. Even though they may smell like crap and you would never want to drink them, there's still usable ethanol inside those jars. Let's say you make the same recipe repeatedly. You do a whiskey a couple times a year, or you do a rum a couple times a year. You can take all of your feints from your previous runs, save those up, and then dump them in the boiler with your fresh wash that you're about to run. That's going to give you another opportunity to extract the ethanol from those feints as well as the main wash. But it's also going to increase the amount of flavor that you get because there's still a bunch of congeners, the flavor compounds that we like, inside those feints. So they're just going to kind of mix with the ones that are in the fresh wash and increase the presence so you get more flavor. I have never tested that, but that is the common wisdom. Hopefully someday I'll be able to do that, hypothetically. The other thing you could do is an All-Feints run. In the commercial industry, an All-Feints run is usually all from the same recipe. But if you're a hobby distiller, then you probably have stuff from all sorts of different runs. Let's say, just for instance, you had feints from a Frankenstein whiskey run, some feints from a Melonshine run, feints from an apple brandy run, and feints from a bourbon run. Could you throw all those together? Sure, why not? And so all you would do is you'd throw all your feints into the pot. You always want to check your ABV and make sure you're not above 40. You don't really want to run a still with that much raw alcohol in it, so it's a good idea to dilute it with water and then run it. Chances are everything in that pot has already been through 2 distillations, so you can just do one more. There's no need to do a stripping run and a spirit run unless you just want to. And then you have the complicated task of blending it. Blending a feints run is tricky. All of your volatile flavors from fruit brandies and fruit shines are going to be up in the heads. And then your grainy type flavors are going to be down in the tails. What you will probably notice is that the hearts section is a little bit broader. There's a little bit wider of a hearts cut than you would normally expect. Keep that in mind because it's possible that the tails are going to be a little bit harder to find. They're going to be a little bit more subtle. So you definitely want to make sure that you air your jars out for at least 24 hours, covered with a cloth or paper towels or coffee filters or something to allow them to, breathe a little bit and get some oxidation and help the flavors kind of sharpen for your senses. And if you're wondering, what do you do with the feints from an All-Feints run? Well, probably don't put them into another spirit. But there's always sanitizer, because God knows you don't want to be without sanitizer, or at least the ability to make some sanitizer. Not now, don't run out. So if you have some failed experiments or a huge collection of feints, save all that up, and if you have a reflux column, make some sanitizer. Doesn't matter what it smells like as long as it's high proof enough to make some sanitizer. I don't have a reflux column, so I'm kind of shit out of luck, but I'm just going to hang on to it until I do. It's not going to spoil. So after all of that, it all goes together and you proof it down to, let's say, 53%. And you get something that smells fruity and butterscotchy at the same time, but is crazy smooth. What do you do with it? That's the question. That's my quandary. Here's the thing. There's watermelon, there's apple, and there's raisin from the Frankenstein. There's a little bit of toasty biscuity, some of that interesting kind of syrupy treacle. All the flavors of everything that went into the pot are now in here. But do they make a good spirit? Maybe. As an unaged spirit, it's kind of odd. It has no category. It's not a brandy, it's not a whiskey, it's not any of those things, but it's all of those things. It's difficult to know what to do with it. But I think I have an interesting idea. Maybe it is. You let me know. A lot of you guys have suggested that I try ultrasonic aging. And that's basically where you take like an ultrasonic jewelry cleaner. It's got a little tub in it and it vibrates at ultrasonic frequencies to clean your jewelry or whatever. You can use the same thing to stick jars of spirit in with some wood and it will age it very quickly, supposedly. Lots of folks will swear by it, but I can't sign off on something like that until I test it myself. I do not have an ultrasonic jewelry cleaner, so that's not something I could test out right now. What I can do is I can get ready now for when I do have one. And so what I did is I took these little jars, put some of the spirit into them, put some little wood chunks in them to get them ready so that in a few months time or however long it takes, we have a control. So I can say, okay, this one with apple wood has been sitting for 4 months and it tastes like X. So then I can take it against my same spirit aged for 30 minutes in an ultrasonic bath and, you know, how do they compare? Do they taste good at all? So I think that'll be an interesting experiment for down the road. If you guys have any suggestions on parameters for the testing, go ahead and hit me up down in the comments. I'm really interested to get some more insight, not just reading articles and watching videos, but insight from you guys that maybe have tried this before. It's experiments like this that I've always wanted to try, and I'm closer to being able to do things like that because of my Patreons. Recently, my patrons, through their support and their donations, they just got me this 50-pound bag of barley. I've got some barley malting in the sink right now, and we're gonna start making our own barley, toasting our own barley, coming up in some future videos, so that I can actually start brewing beer again. It's because of my patrons that I was able to do something like that, and that I'm able to consider doing an ultrasonic aging video in the future. Guys, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for being able to put me in this position to be able to really start digging into some of the deeper aspects of this hobby, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. If you would like to also help me get closer to my goal of being able to do the really weird stuff on a weekly basis for my channel, consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put a link right down below in the video description. So I think that is it for right now. If you enjoyed this video, if you thought it was interesting, if you learned anything, if your mind has been expanded, do me a favor, hit the like button. It really helps out the channel. If you want to see what kind of weird stuff I'm going to do next time, possibly some of it with barley, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and ring the little bell so you get notified when I post new content. If you have any questions or comments about the All-Feints run or the ultrasonic aging that we're going to do with the All-Feints run, do me a favor and post those down in the comments section down below. All right, I think that's it. Talk at you later.